This is the 8-9 Combo Podcast with Brett McKay and Harry Jones.
This is the 8-9 Combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones, and this is Games of the Week. Hello, mate. What's occurring here? Our YouTube listeners, that's a great start. Our YouTube viewers will have just seen you pushing what looks to be Christmas decorations out of shot.
This week is Christmas for Wallaby fans. This is when it all comes down. This is when you open your present. Don't think too much about the England thing. England's a bit flakier than people realize.
Yep.
Don't do any statusizing from Wales. Wales is dead as a doorknob. This week is when you open up your Christmas presents and see, were you good or were you naughty? And the Tom Wrights of the world and the Noah Lolosios and the Lanny Kataus and everyone else is going to be clearly judged.
Frosts.
Take a look at the weather in Edinburgh for the weekend.
It looks brisk, I've got to say. And I did see you pop the weather forecast for Edinburgh on your socials, and I did see a suggestion that it looked like Canberra weather from someone. And I say to you, look, this is a t-shirt right now. It's bloody lovely.
First of all,
they
they didn't come straight from Canberra in the winter. And second of all,
no.
Whenever Edinburgh weather forecasters and meteorologists say whatever they say, it's always a lie. It's always colder than that. And if you look at the forecast for Sunday, it's exceptionally windy. That means it probably starts being windy on Saturday night. And so I predict one of those raw Scottish nights. It's going to be -2, -1, going to feel like -10, and it's going to be wet because it's 85% rain, which means it's 185% rain.
Yeah. Well, it could be similarly chilly in Cardiff by the sounds of it, because
the roof's closed.
The Box arrived to the Principality Stadium this week for a run, and they were quite relieved as they walked in from the snow outside that the roof was closed.
Also, that match between Wales and the Box feels a lot like Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, where everyone's just going to try not to get hurt.
Just take your money and run.
Yeah.
It is at the end of another rugby week. It's really cool to reveal that episode 41 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast with New South Wales Waratahs coach Dan McKellar is already our most listened to weekly chat episode. It's the second highest overall, so make sure you go back and check that out. What was certainly another great rugby chat. I'm actually quite blown away by the response to the chat with Dan this week, mate. It's just gone phenomenally well on the pod and on YouTube as well.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant chat. Everyone should have a listen. And what we love about the fact is that we are visual, which is why we have Christmas trees sometimes. And
we are YouTubers.
Yes. And we are getting phenomenal responses from our postmortems. So please join us, because we're going to do another one of those. And those even get more phenomenal numbers on YouTube. Yeah. We don't even know what we're talking about half the time. We have no stats in front of us. We are, in this case, because, you keep winning, you're in unfamiliar territory. But I would suggest to you again, everyone, Wallaby fans, this weekend is the bellwether. This is where we really learn, because Scotland is a proper team. The scoreline with the Box, it's a little bit deceiving, because if Hugh Jones doesn't keep passing the ball into row 4-7, 7x, then it's a different game. And so I think when you have that type of weather too, there's no way around it. Yeah. Scottish players are more used to Scottish weather than anyone else.
Absolutely. We will get into that one very shortly, but let's get into the games of the week, mate. And the November internationals start on Friday night in Paris with France and Argentina. They love a late kickoff in Paris, don't they? 9:10 p.m. How are you going as a player when you get up for breakfast in Paris that day and think, oh, you beauty?
The French and the Spanish are wild about that. They start everything at 10 p.m. Like if you get an invitation to a party in France and it says 9, it really means 10. Don't get there at 9 because it's rude. And everything just starts late. And I always wonder about most people there. How do you get the kids to school? And does it start later? Like, no, it starts the same time as everywhere else. So like, doesn't really make any sense. But they do love it, and then no one puts on a show like the French Stade de France. It'll be
that was something
amazing.
else last week, wasn't it? What do you give Argentina a big chance in this, don't you?
I'm picking them. I think they'll win. I think that this team, the Argentinian team, this particular version of it is different from times past, and so I think they also respond really well to a loss.
Yeah,
especially a loss where they think they were harshly treated. So many of them play in the French leagues. So many are comfortable with that.
That's the big factor, I think.
And I also think the French have a little bit of a letdown sometimes when they win one. So this is what I'm thinking, that it's going to be one of those nights where the French crowd turns them. And I love that more than anything else in rugby. When they start booing, or really they actually start whistling their own team.
Yeah. Is there an element that they've already played their big game?
I really think so. Plus, they have some discontent in the camp with the Jalibert affair.
Yes, they do.
Just in general, there's
Penner's gone out now as well.
Yeah, this is just a hunch. Look, and I'll stand up and take the booze if I'm wrong, but I feel like Argentina is going to turn them over. By a point or two, by 2 or 3, very close. Some kind of contentious decision made by some Anglo-Saxon referee against France, and there you go.
Who is the referee?
I don't know. I'm just saying that's what'll happen. Yeah, that's how they'll say. That's one of the 5 referees that we have now in rugby. People chiming in from everywhere now.
Fair. How would this cap off Argentina's 2024, which has already been brilliant?
It's already their best year. If you think the World Cup semifinal is the definitional thing, then maybe not. But for a sustainable season, I think it's their best. They didn't just peak here and there. They sustained. They were hard to beat. They didn't get toweled by anyone. I think New Zealand was the only one who really got them once, and then South Africa in the end for the Rugby Championship. But beyond that, it was tight matches. Yeah. They really came really close in Ireland. All they needed was one. Probably if they were playing in a knockout, they would have gone for the drop goal and they would have drawn the match, and then there would have been something else happen. But because it didn't matter really, they did what they did. If they won, not only would I look back into Dublin and say, "Ooh, I wish we had won that one," but it would be easily their best year. Like there would be no dispute that 2024 would go down as Argentina's finest rugby season, with more to come, a young coach, and future looking bright.
Yeah, and it would be just reward for them, no doubt about that. Action on the Saturday switches to Madrid, Spain hosting the USA there 12:45 local time. The Eagles are on a bit of a roll at the moment, so I'll be interested to see whether they can keep going there. Ireland host Fiji at the Aviva in Dublin at 3:10 p.m. That's 2:10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time Sunday morning, 3:10 in Fiji, to our listeners on the islands who I know are there. That'll be interesting going that one.
It will. Ireland has struggled a little bit more than some of the other nations to adjust to the lack of a blocking guard, the hyper-attention to crossing lines.
Bernard Jackman was on this week.
Yeah, the crossing lines have been more harshly adjudged now, and then the lack of escort shepherds and guards, whatever you want to call them. That's actually been some of the things they've relied on to make up for the lack of overall power and depth of power. So they can get overpowered, and Fiji just is, the awkward, uncomfortable thing to come to town when you're already suffering from a power imbalance. You only have Joe McCarthy as a stopping power guy. I think the other thing is we were too soon to write off the departure of Johnny Sexton as just a blip. And the fact of the matter is, regaining your shape in attack schemes when you are relying on that many rucks and you have someone like Johnny Sexton directing everyone is a big thing, because there's nothing wrong with Crawley or Frawley in their skills, but they're 24, 23, Prendergast 22. And the ability to tell Robbie Henshaw or scream across to James Lowe and tell him not to do something stupid, that's actually hard to do when you're 24.
That's much easier to do with 14 years of experience.
Yeah, and to be like Johnny Sexton, who doesn't care. So I think that's part of it. You would think they would take care of Fiji, but then again, Fiji is one of those tricky teams. If I would say the start will really matter. I haven't seen Fiji come back on anyone, but if they get a good start and they put the Irish into scoreboard pressure, who knows?
They're good front runners. They've always been good front runners. So we'll see how that plays. Romania host Uruguay in Bucharest, Saturday, 6 p.m. local time. And then we go to Cardiff, where Wales hosts South Africa under the roof at the Principality Stadium. 5:40 kickoff local time, 4:40 a.m. For me Sunday morning. Yeah, that might be worthy of setting the alarm. I think that should be that. It'll be an interesting game.
It's a curious selection by R.C. Erasmus. He had said earlier that everyone who went on tour would play, which is fair enough, and everyone has now. But we thought that it would be a little bit more of an A-B side, a bit of a training run, and instead he's named the most astounding bench ever with Eben, Archie, Andre, Kurbis, Marks. It's stacked.
I count 7 current World Cup winners out of 8 on the bench.
And then on the front side, you have a really top line, back line. And so you have an ability to go crazy. But the notable thing is you have the brothers Hendrickse.
Yeah. Have they ever played a test together?
No. And people are racking to see top tier. If there's ever been a number 9 and a 10 combination, the 9-10 combo of brothers, and we don't find one. So that's interesting too.
Yeah.
All right. So the theory about South Africa is that Rassie wants to end Warren Gatland's career this time around in Wales, and that he could have gone easier, but he kind of just wants to put the boot in because Warren was not the nicest of guys in some of the Rassie interludes, and so it's interesting these coach games they play. Listen, Warren's on the hot seat when a guy is actually saying to you in the final press conference of a game, saying, "Well, if they have to move on beyond, without me, then I guess they could do that." That's not really the best look. And his ex-players also were saying, "Come on, Warren," because you could tell he was not the most beloved of coaches because old players are coming out and sticking it to him.
He was fine when he was winning. Most coaches are. Look, that was widely interpreted as him fishing for a payout. Him saying, "All right, sure. If you don't think I can do the job, despite the fact that we've got another contract for another 10 years, then let's talk." Which what
I hate about lack of accountability in coaching in rugby is when people say, "So who are you going to put in there?" As if that should always be the case, when we know that something is drastically wrong with the Welsh setup. And you always see it first on when they lose assistant coaches.
There is so much going on in Welsh rugby right now that I actually think it would be rough on Gatland to make him the sole focus of all of those ills.
I don't think that does
coach isn't going to fix everything.
I don't think that does make him the sole focus, but I would always fire the guy anyway. Because you can never get assistant coaches until you get rid of the top guy. We saw with Eddie. True. And they start having these people that don't know what they're doing. Steve Borthwick has a guy who was 12th in the Pro D2 as a defensive coach in place of Felix Jones, who's still on garden leave. When you cannot manage your own assistant and they don't want to work for you, that's the worst thing about a head coach, because one of your top duties is really just managing your assistant coaches. You're not doing ruck work. You're not going there and doing scrum binds. It's
just make sure they're doing it.
Are you a friendly guy? Do people like working for you? Guess what? Springboks never have anyone leave mid-season, and Andy Farrell has no one leave mid-season. Joe Schmidt looks like he's a nice guy to work with. That really matters. It helps you build. And there's something about Warren Gatland for a while now that seems to have repelled people.
Not going well, is it? Yeah. Rassie Rasmus originally named Oxenshade, but he's now going to sit out.
Yeah, he started a lot of games. I think it was actually kind of curious. We actually wondered why did he name him, because he had a cut actually over his knee. Yeah. And it seemed like he needed a break, so that's smart.
Makes sense. Jaden and Jordan Hendrickse will become the 36th set of brothers to play for the Springboks. I've just read
That's funny. Yeah.
It's funny.
It's an interesting look. Like the thing is, you have Kubas and Andre in the wings. So anytime something's not going right there, what is really interesting for trivia buffs is both Jaden and Jordan are recognized goal kickers. In fact, Jaden Hendricks was the kicker when Marty Lubbock was picked for the Argentina closeout match.
Yeah.
And so you have the possibility here of two brothers starting at 9 and 10 and both taking shots at goals. And that's your double pub trivia bonus question.
Right. So that's
like Jaden scores and then Jordan converts, and then Jordan scores and then Jaden converts.
Jay Hendricks. I won't be able to write that down. For Wales, 4 changes, 1 positional switch for Gatland. Obviously Adam Beard is out in the second row, so Schwinzer comes in at lock. Plumtree switches to number 8 for Wainwright. Costello comes in at fly half for Anscombe. Then he's brought Rio Dyer in on the left wing for his first game, certainly of this back end of the year, which shifts Blair Murray to fullback, and Cameron Winnett is gone completely. So obviously didn't like the way that he just conceded defeat to Lenny Katau on that try.
Cam Winnet's a pretty good player.
He is. I'm surprised. I think he was actually one of Wales' best.
He's been one of the best all season. Wainwright's a really big miss there, although they always have a plethora of loose forwards.
Yeah.
You look at the team sheet, and this is true all year. You look at the team sheet, there's plenty of quality. Those are proper rugby players. They come from rugby pedigree. They were woke up into the world thinking about rugby. And so there's always this feeling of, just like when you see Joe Schmidt work with some of the same players Eddie did, or people that Eddie said were not good enough, and the result is 66 points different, you know that there's something wrong in the Wales setup. And it's not just what Warren says. Warren says it's about not having enough time with them. If you can just go to the hyperbaric chamber in Switzerland, I can turn them upside down, shred them, and
deeper than that.
Feed them a secret, chief sauce. There's something else missing where there's no joy. I watched the Wallabies in 1 year go from the most joyless, scared, overcoached, looking to the box type team to where now they're blowing kisses, they're throwing balls through their legs, it's behind the back. No one even throws a proper pass anymore. No one cares. And it's unusually interesting because Joe Schmidt was always a tightly controlled guy. And now he seems like every kind of way you get the ball from A to B is okay with him.
Doesn't matter. I wrote this week that they are playing at the moment like they do not have a care in the world. And that's fantastic. That's the way.
Do you think, so when he took over from Ireland, was his first head test coach, and then he went to New Zealand, he was the second guy. Do you think there's freedom in a guy like him, having done everything, kind of proved himself already, and then he comes to Australia?
Yeah. He's on a no-lose stint in Australia. He's got the Lions coming, which will be a highlight from a coaching point of view. Like any coach who gets to go up against the British and Irish Lions that's career highlight right there, regardless of the result. Over the course of his 2 years, he only needs to make sure that when he finishes or after the Lions series, the team is in significantly better shape than they were when he started, which they already are, and are by some margin, as you've just said. 66-point turnaround is not nothing. So, Schmidt is coaching with freedom as well, and that's showing in the way that they're playing. Scotland have a game against Chile in Edinburgh Saturday night. Then also Saturday late night, in fact, Italy v New Zealand in Turin, also at the Allianz Stadium. Is that the third Allianz Stadium we've used this year or the fourth? I've lost count.
I don't know.
9:10 p.m. local time, 9:10 p.m. local time kickoff, 9:10 a.m. in New Zealand. That game is. So that's double breakfast rugby. That's how good. I feel like New Zealand will win that pretty comfortably. It'll be their 5th straight win on the Northern Tour, which is going to be a hell of a way to finish it. It's 5 tests in 5 weeks is a long tour, and if they can win the 5th one, then that's a really, really good finish of the year.
We're not counting the French loss That doesn't
Oh
exist.
shit, they did lose. They did lose last year, didn't they? Sorry.
Well,
Scrap
4 to
that.
5 ain't bad.
Yeah, scrap that. Our YouTube viewers, just ignore what you just said in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, Brett's very accurate. So this is an unusual. It's just a moment. Actually, I wonder about
I don't know what I'm
it.
thinking.
And then I thought I had to say something. Sorry.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. I don't know what I was thinking there, honestly.
That's French.
I obviously
doesn't count.
I tuned out in the 75th minute last weekend. They will win comfortably, I think, this week.
Sure. It looks like, again, on the issue of people that rose and fall and people that stayed the same, it's at least taking a step back. And it's interesting. It's interesting, even from July series sometimes to now, there's been movement. I think there's never been a time in rugby when things were unheralded, like the no escort, no guard has affected some teams drastically, like England.
More than others, certainly.
And Ireland, but not so much New Zealand and Australia. And I think also the refs are allowing a much messier ruck, and the what I'll call the power athlete teams are fine with it. But the ones that struggle for that don't have 4, 5, 6 real bruisers in the pack, because that surge comes late and the nines are getting knocked around and they're getting hit.
Yeah, no doubt. Scotland v Australia at Murrayfield in Edinburgh, 1:40 p.m. kickoff on Sunday afternoon, 12:40 a.m. for me, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. This game was, when the schedule was announced months ago, this game was always going to be the big test. This was going to be the one to measure the tour by.
Correct.
If people were expecting 2 wins out of 4 on this tour, this had to be the second win. Now, as it happens, this could now be the 3rd win of the tour, and there's actually a level of expectation now around the Wallabies. So they're playing with confidence, they're playing with freedom, as we've discussed, but now they're playing with expectation, and that's something that they haven't had a lot of experience of in the last 2 or 3 years, I would suggest. So all of a sudden, this playing group now is in a different territory themselves.
That's correct. But so I'll say this: if the Wallabies lose to Scotland in about a month or 2 from now, the tour will still be considered a success. But as we sit here right now, it almost feels like, no, they really have to win, because it's like solidifying. It's like breaking serve in tennis, and then you got to win your own serve. And there's this feeling that if not now, then when, to sort of stamp your authority. I think no one is expecting the Wallabies to beat Ireland, but I think Scotland was considered the easier win than England. Thus, because they beat England, gonna be thrown. I just think there's a few problems with that, and I'm actually picking.
It's a danger game. As we get closer, I'm genuinely worried about this game.
I'm thinking Scotland by 2 or 3 points, and my rationale is this: I think some of the depth problems in the Wallabies, especially at scrum time, and in the ability to power through on a muddy, cold, really cold, like significantly colder than anything else kind of day, it tends to favor the big heavies and the piggies and the grunts. So I think there's a bit of a prop scrum. There could be a bit of wobble there, and if that's true.
Angus Bell had surprising issues last week against Wales.
If that's true, then Finn Russell just pins it in. He's very good at line kicking. He's like Pollard in that way. It's not just kicking at poles. He's really good at putting that ball 5 meters out. Yeah.
So so where they might be able to absorb that pressure is that the line out was still very, very good in Cardiff. The Wallabies stole 4 of the Welsh throws I think what the Wales success rate was 2/3, something like that. So the line out is going well. We do know that. I would expect Skelton plays, so more defense is going to be better again. Scrum is going to be the question, no doubt about it. And
I mean, I'm just judging this from the box, playing Scotland and being there. The Scottish lineout's pretty good too. They're proper operators. I actually wonder about who are you guys picking for your midfield?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. Well, it certainly won't be Samu Karevi. He was rubbed out for the rest of the tour, which, again, coming from a position of being surprised that the card was upgraded to red, then, that's certainly a surprising outcome. But as soon as it became red, suspension became a factor in that. So he's out. I expect Joseph Akuso-Suali'i will just come straight back in, and whether he plays 12 or he plays 13 is probably neither here nor there.
There's what I'm picking. That's the other part of why I'm picking Scotland to win, because I think there's levels to this shit. I think there's tiramisu, man,
and that's fair.
Up against one of the premier attacking midfields. I'm not calling them the best defensive but Tupelotu and Hugh Jones are devastating. They made 3 clean line breaks against the Bok midfield, which is known for not giving you anything.
Yep.
So I just think he's going to see things he hasn't seen. I also, I just wonder about that mix and match. Like, I was watching the Wallabies when they played that 12-13, and a lot of times it was 13-12, 13. It kept switching around.
It did. Yeah, in defense, definitely did.
That's risky when you got Finn Russell, Sione, and Hugh. Those 3 guys are live wires at finding little edges.
Yeah, which means that the Wallabies start is going to be crucial. They're, much like Fiji against Ireland, I suspect. I think the Wallabies will need a front run in this game. They won't want to have to be playing catch up at some point. So if they can start well, score early, keep the pressure on Ireland, keep the pressure on Finn Russell particularly, make the Scottish ball carriers have to do a bit of grunt work. I think that definitely helps Australia's cause.
Yeah, I think so. And so Wallabies have to make the kicks, obviously. But the other thing is, it's the kind of game you look at and you say, there's probably not going to be 4 or 5 line breaks for either side. It's probably going to be 2, 3, 1, 2 for the sides. It's that kind of weather and that kind of game. If that's the case, then it's probably going to be who takes advantage of their breaks, who can finish their breaks. Yeah. And that's where, again, the fascinating duel between the Scottish wingers and the informed Wallaby back 3 is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, it will. Look, it's going to be a ripping game. It is going to be a very, very good game, and I can't wait to see it. There's going to be so much to talk about when we launch into a test match post-mortem after it. So that'll be out Sunday evening UK time, Monday morning, obviously early in Australia and New Zealand, and that's going to be a ripper, no doubt about it. The top 14 is back on in France this weekend, mate, round 10. I reckon you can take your pick of these 2 games. Toulon playing Bayonne on Saturday, that's 5th against 4th, or there's another Paris derby, Stade Francais against Racing on Sunday. It's Toulon Bayonne.
I can't believe it's round 10 already.
Yeah, I know. So look, I think that is our pick of games of the week in France this week, but it's round 10 and it's November. So obviously the URC and the Premiership are all on hold for one more week through the Autumn Nations Series. But there it is, mate, full time on another games of the week. A big weekend awaits. Some good games here.
Cannot wait. I'm really up for that Argentina France game too, by the way. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, that could be a sneaky smoky of a game, couldn't it? It could actually be a ripper. Yeah, that'll be a good one. But tell us what you think right here on the Games of the Week, right here on the 8-9 Combo YouTube channel. Hit the 8-9 Combo up on all the socials. Tell Harry and I what you think of our picks and what you think of his Christmas decorations that have just come back into shot. And we're all now, including the pod, we're all now on Blue Sky as well. So find us there if you're dabbling in Blue Sky like we are. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and you're following on the pod platforms wherever you tune in, and make sure you've got notifications turned on wherever you need to have that done as well. This is Games of the Week from the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed, coming from the podcast double act you already had. I'm Brett McKay, he's Harry Jones, and we'll be back in your ears with the test match post-mortem following Scotland-Australia at Murrayfield.
Come play with us.
This is the 8-9 Combo Podcast with Brett McKay and Harry Jones.